Hello and welcome to the Blobber Checks Out, the demo for White Cat Town Mystery. Sort of vaguely point-and-clicky game, but you're an anthro-cato? The train wheels. Actually, how loud is it? Too loud. There we go. The train wheels whispered, mirroring the white cat's heartbeat. Lumi sat pensively with an old school album resting on his lap. Click anywhere on the screen or press spacebar to continue. Boop. Let me move that over here. His fingers traced the familiar faces, each image a nostalgic memory. Laughter, riddles, dances, pranks, stories. Memories woven in ink. His mind wandered to the 7 long years spent in the big city, a world apart from his hometown. The city's pulse, with all its trials and tribulations, echoed in his memories. Lumi, hopeful and innocent, once had nurtured noble aspirations to bring justice to the world. A deep sense of hurt and disappointment by the harsh and saddening truths he had uncovered washed over him. He felt that now was time to return, if only for a brief moment. Coming to the school reunion was a decision made on an impulse. Yet, as he was getting closer and closer to his hometown, it stirred something within, a past left behind, yet ever present. He thought of his parents again. He often pondered on them and what it would be like for him if they were still here. The piercing sound of the train whistle interrupted his chain of thought. He gazed down at the album. Within round frames, 6 faces, forever frozen in the timeless embrace of black and white, looked at him. So we've got like Foxo, presumably us, little chipmunky, squirrely type thing. Some sort of rabbit with an extreme beard. Tiny little mouse and doggo. Adrian, the black fox, his gaze piercing and pensive through the lenses of his pretentious spectacles. Then there was Lumi, a younger, more naive version of himself. Besides him, the ever-vivacious squirrel, Clara. Her eyes blazed with mischief. Isabella, the rabbit, looked ethereal. Her undeniable beauty shining even in grayscale. Felix, the hamster, hamster, not rat or mouse, sported a cheeky grin, a hint of his playful nature. Ethan, the doggo, his expression still in quiet contemplation, a silent observer of the world. To explore the memories of your schoolmates, click one of the paw icons. The relationships you choose with your classmates will affect the story in meaningful ways. How can we not go with doggo? Ethan's portrait spoke for itself. His drooping ears, a pensive look. A reminder of his introverted character. Lumi recalled the moments they spent together, finding solace in their shared silence, each lost in their own thought. Ethan's reserved nature sometimes led to misunderstandings between him and those around, but those patient enough to get to know him discovered a soul filled with depth and desensitivity. How did Lumi feel about him? Regret? Casual acquaintance? Silent support? Or protective? Silent support. Lumi and Ethan shared many silent moments, understanding each other without needing any words. Foxo? Adrian's sharp gaze, amplified by his glasses, perpetually seemed to be analyzing the world around him. Lumi remembered many intellectual debates they had stretching late into the night. Adrian's passion for knowledge was evident, yet sometimes accompanied by an air of aloofness. At times, when their discussions veered from the academic to the personal, Lumi felt an unfathomable depth within Adrian, a side that few got to see. Are we intellectual comrades, an unspoken attraction, chess rivals, or intimidated chess rivals? Lumi and Adrian were both avid chess players, often engaging in intense matches that allowed them to showcase their strategic minds. Their games were a mix of rivalry and mutual respect. Our relationship with ourself? Staring back at him was a younger version of himself, eyes brimming with curiosity and uncertainty. The lustrous white fur, which had not yet been worn down by travelling, appeared to glow. Lumi remembered the weight of those school days, the internal battles between longing to fit in and the desire to carve his own path. Who was that young cat, and how much had he changed over the years? And we don't get an option? So basically, who are we not choosing, I guess? Or maybe it's everyone. It made it kind of sound like maybe we can only choose a finite number of them. The black and white picture didn't fully capture Clara's bubbly personality. The fiery hue of her fur mirrored her very essence. Lumi recalled her laughter echoing down the school hallways and her daring tricks that often landed everyone in trouble. Her vibrant spirit, a bright beacon amid routine days, drew others to her like moths to a flame. Yet, behind those playful eyes, Lumi sensed layers of emotion, some of which she kept shielded even from her closest friends. Friendship, unspoken, brief romance, or annoyance. We'll go with friendship. Lumi always valued Clara's vibrant nature. They embarked on many adventures together, fostering a deep friendship bond. Okay, maybe we do everyone. We're not running out of these. There were legends going around the school about Isabella's ethereal beauty. Though to Lumi she was more than just a pretty face. He was captivated by her charm, her magnetic energy and passion when she spun her stories, and the shimmer in her eyes when she talked about her dreams. Yet there was an air of mystery around her, a veil that few would ever lift. Annoyance, unrequited... We just suppose... The game really wants us to be hitting on everyone, apparently. This is not what I signed up for. Distant admiration or polite acquaintance. Yeah, if she's passionate, we can admire that. Lumi admired Isabella from afar, never finding the courage to approach her or engage in meaningful conversations. And lastly, hamster person. Felix's mischievous grin served as evidence of his unpredictable nature. Lumi remembered school days filled with Felix's antics. This is definitely what I signed up for? No. Which had become more and more audacious over time. But there were moments, rare and fleeting, when Felix would let his guard down. Hail, Golden Deer. Revealing that he was just desperately trying to fit in. Wary observer, amused... No, we can share some secrets. Felix confided a secret to Lumi, something that revealed a vulnerable side. This act created a bond, albeit a fragile one. The soft glow of the town's lights shimmered like fireflies, guiding Lumi back home. A gentle breeze flowing through an open window tenderly carried the familiar sense of town. In that moment, the anticipation of returning blended with the uncertainty of the long-awaited reunion and the weight of just relived memories. As the town's lights grew brighter, a mixture of longing and trepidation took over Lumi's mind. He was on the cusp of revisiting a world he was once a part of, with all its joys, sorrows, and secrets. As the train pulled into the station, the brakes sighed, a mechanical exhale mirroring Lumi's own. He closed the album, carefully tucking it into his bag, and braced himself for the journey ahead. The evening platform was empty and quiet, tinged with a sense of déjà vu. As Lumi stepped off the train, the gravel crunched under his boots. The station, a relic of a forgotten era, stood stoically as if frozen in time. Lumi paused, wanting to remember every little thing at that moment. He took a deep breath, noticing that even the air felt different. Lumi roamed the streets, surrounded by buildings that seemed to lean as if ready to whisper everything he had missed. With every step, he could feel anticipation growing. Finally, the winding roads led him to the cafe. He hesitated at the entrance, inhaling deeply as if bracing himself to step into another world. Clara, the squirrel, was the first to spot him. Her fiery eyes lit up. She stretched a little, arching her back, and waved as if beckoning him to hurry up and join in with old friends. Getting closer to the table, he saw that the group had significantly perked up. Clara jumped up from her seat and hugged him tightly. It seemed almost automatic, something that she couldn't quite control, a move that came involuntarily when you hadn't seen someone for so long. Lumi blinked in surprise at the gesture, standing still for a few seconds before mildly hugging her back, a shy smile tugging at the corner of his lips. Felix shot a quick look at Adrian, to which he responded with a haughty chuckle. "You've made it," Clara said, releasing bewildered Lumi from the embrace. It should be a bewildered Lumi. Her voice was filled with energy, yet with a slight hint of strain, a departure from his memories. Felix, the hamster, quickly ran up to his old classmate, playfully tapping him on the shoulders. "Sit down, Mr. Big City Guy. We were starting to think that your private jet wouldn't ever make it due to weather conditions." He looked around the table, gauging everyone's reaction to this witty remark. Lumi took the chair next to Clara, across from Ethan the dog. The latter sat quietly, watching the spectacle unfold. He glanced at Lumi, silently greeting him with his usual restrained smile. More firm, more confident now. As before, it didn't take escapades of words to understand each other. A brief moment that spoke for itself. "I'm happy you came." Adrian the fox stood up solemnly from his seat, appearing as if he was about to make a crucial announcement. Adjusted his glasses, he began, "As one Nobel laureate has told me," his eyes softened, and his mouth broke into a welcoming smile. "Just kidding. I'm glad to see you here." Wow, and here I thought this was going to be a speech about the importance of staying connected with old friends and its impact on our grey matter or something like that. Adrian looked back at her astonished. "You know, Adrian always the life of the party," smirked Felix. The absurdity of such a statement made the group share a laugh, the ice effectively broken. Where's my point and click? I was expecting a point and click. Lumi now had a moment to look around. Adrian leaned back. "It's like we've gone back in time, isn't it?" "Yes, it's like we've travelled back, but with a modern twist on it, with better clothes and hopefully with better judgment," she added, her words carrying a playful edge, but her voice was almost wistful. "Better judgment, you say? Have you ever seen my clothes?" Felix teased, looking down at his outfit. His voice was upbeat, but a tiny bit rehearsed. The initial pleasantries melted away into deeper conversations. The topics naturally drifted towards their shared memories. They laughed whilst reminiscing about their attempt to sneak into the school's bell tower, how Ethan got stuck halfway up the ladder, and how Clara rang the bell at that exact moment, making them school celebrities for a day. They reminisced about their teachers' secret nicknames and the funny situations that occurred during classes. They shared old silly jokes about one another and discussed their favourite moments from prom. As the discussion about the good old days slowly died down, Lumi couldn't help but glance again at the empty chair. It was silently calling attention to itself, a poignant reminder that someone vital was missing from the reunion. Finally, he voiced the unspoken question that hung heavily in the air. Has anyone heard from Isabella? She was supposed to be here tonight. The table grew noticeably quieter at the mention of her name. Clara's vibrant demeanour dimmed slightly and she shook her head. I stopped by her place on her way here, and there wasn't any sign of her. Her neighbour said, Ooh, she's missing! Yes! Maybe we're working our way towards actual mystery point-and-click gameplay. Her neighbour said she hasn't seen her for a couple of days. Her voice was tighter. Ethan looked up with a concerned expression. I tried calling her earlier. No one answered. She's usually the one counting down the hours till an event like this. That's troubling, Adrian noted. If this turns into a dating game, Salah. That's troubling, Adrian noted, adjusting his glasses. I know she was looking forward to tonight. She wouldn't cancel without a word. Felix, who had been attentively listening, subtly tried to steer the conversation away from darker topics. Maybe she took a longer route, he suggested lightly. Or perhaps she has a plan for some grand entrance. You guys know her. She always loved to be the center of attention. Maybe she'll soon come, expecting us to be all over her. Clara shot Felix a look that was both sharp and concerned. This isn't like that, Felix. Because Miss Morrigan's around, everything must be a dating game? This isn't like that, Felix, I'm sure, she said. We're talking about our friend here. Aren't you even a little bit worried? You're right. I'm sorry. We should try to reach out to her family and see if they know anything. Everyone nodded in agreement. Adrian took the initiative and proposed a plan. First thing tomorrow, we'll call her family to check in on her, and if you happen to meet her, please let me know. We need to make sure she's okay. The group let out a collective sigh, comforted by Adrian's decisive action. So, Clara was the first one who decided to shift the conversation. Has anyone else noticed this odd misty darkness lately, or is it just me? It's like the light is slowly getting sucked out of everything. Ethan's hands were tumbling slightly. Not trembling, tumbling. I have, he confirmed. The days feel shorter than usual, and I don't think it's just because of autumn. There's something else. When my customers started mentioning it, I knew that I wasn't imagining things. I've felt it as well. I can't quite put it into words, said Adrian. When I encounter something so obscure, my mind begins to imagine all sorts of possibilities. Adrian looked around the table. I think it's true for all of us. Without a clear understanding, it's easy to feel lost and overwhelmed. Felix seemed almost amused by the topic. This enigma, this so-called mysterious darkness we speak of again. Perhaps it's merely a mass hysteria, born from a weird weather pattern, nothing more or nothing less. Clara, her face tightening in frustration, shot back. Weather doesn't explain the feeling everyone has, Felix. It's deeper than that. It's as though the soul of the town is grieving. The group exchanged glances, feeling the tension but unable to identify its source. The growing unease in the room mirrored the darkness outside, transforming their joyful reunion into something more complex and fraught. Feeling the need to salvage the evening, Clara leaned forward. Let me remind you all, she mouthed, her voice light and cheerful, that it's been ages and I could really use some updates. Turning her attention to Ethan, she inquired, how does your clock business going? All eyes turned to Ethan, eager to hear his answer. He smiled, slightly surprised by the abrupt question. Well, it's good. I find a certain peace in aligning gears and hands. It's grounding. That's great, Lumi responded, smiling at Ethan, his gaze filled with pride and admiration. I have a workspace down by the river, Ethan offered. Come by if ever you need anything. And Adrian, are you still writing? Clara asked, shifting the attention of the table to the black fox. Adrian nodded, and a self-assured smile graced his lips. More than ever, he straightened his posture. I've recently published a collection of essays. I call it Horizons of Logic, Navigating Rationality in an Irrational World. And let me tell you, it's sparked quite a debate. I heard that your public lectures practically spawned a cult following, flattered Felix. Adrian chuckled, theatrically straightening his bow tie. Oh yeah, my The Art of Reasoning series. It feels good to help shape the new generation of thinkers. We could really use more smart people in the world. You think this should be the talking book category? We are yet to see almost any gameplay, Jeffo. I agree. Well, and I'm still in sales. Felix didn't need the invitation to speak about himself. Our company's chemical solvents are top-notch. I'm the guy who bridges the gap between complex science and ordinary people. So you're still the middleman, huh? Adrian noted. Exactly. It's all about finding the right solutions. The right solutions for the right people. It's a high-pressure job, but that's what makes it exciting. It sounds like you've found your groove, added Clara. You know me, always ready for a good challenge. Felix's smile was the perfect finishing touch to this particular bit, and it was evident that he was quite proud of himself. Well, for me, working at the restaurant is all about making others happy, Clara beamed with an infectious energy, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I love seeing their faces light up when they have a great time, or when the staff celebrates after a good night. I just can't get enough of it. Clara, the guardian angel of good vibes. Felix couldn't help but chuckle at her enthusiasm. With a playful glint in her eyes, she rejoined, Hey, someone's got to keep the party going, right? Subsequently, the group's attention naturally shifted back to Lumi. They all noticed that, while they had shared their own stories, Lumi had remained silent about his. Adrian smoothed back his hair, adjusting his glasses and locking eyes with Lumi. Your move, Lumi. The board is set. So this is presumably because we chose the chess backstory with him? He challenged, a confident smirk playing on his lips. What's your story? Lumi hesitated as if he was struggling to find the answer. I spent some time at a historical archive in the city. He began, choosing his words carefully. It was enlightening. The cat is actually Miss Mori? Clara's eyes flamed with curiosity as she searched his, attempting to probe. Must have been full of old secrets, right? Lumi's eyes flickered. You could say that. I stumbled upon things. You're still not giving anything away, Adrian hinted at their shared past. Strategic and patient, just as I remembered. Lumi smiled. The city has many layers, some best left unpeeled. No way, Felix shouted, his eyes widened. And you haven't even told us all about it? If I were you, I wouldn't shut up, he chuckled. You have to give us more than you have. Ethan, his eyes soft but intense, watched Lumi closely, sensing the depth of unspoken tales. I've met someone who has showed me another side of things. Lumi paused. Helena. A subtle change in Clara's demeanor became apparent. Her playful fervor seemed to wane for a moment. Helena? She asked, trying to sound casual, but her voice betrayed a touch of curiosity. Lumi, sensing the shift, clarified, she was my mentor, someone who guided me through the hardships I faced in the big city. Clara's eyes softened, a silent realization dawning upon her. She laughed softly. It's good to have someone you can count on. I always knew you'd find your way, my friend, said Felix, glancing right into Lumi's eyes. Good-hearted people are naturally drawn to you. Like attracts like. Lumi chuckled gently. Perhaps. The group sat together, enjoying a moment of quiet camaraderie. Lost in their thoughts, they gazed at the shimmering distant skyline, holding onto its secrets. Breaking the silence, Clara softly whispered almost to herself. You know, life is quite a journey, isn't it? Indeed, Lumi nodded, and everyone has their own path. The cafe quietened noticeably, and I prefer the words the other way around there. And the buzzing of the evening gradually faded into a quiet night. Ethan sat still, mesmerized by the vintage clock that hung over the cafe's entrance. It was one magnificent piece of craftsmanship. Its ornate brass frame showcased intricate engravings. The gentle ticking sound filled the air, and Ethan seemed to wake up from a dream upon noticing the clock's hands that pointed to the late hour. Time, he said quietly. Yes, murmured Adrian, his eyes fixed on the old school album. Time flies. No, said Ethan, look at the clock. Oh, Adrian chuckled. Felix yawned and stretched, a wide grin on his face. Looks like it's time for us to turn into pumpkins, he joked. Getting a round of soft laughter from the group, it has been great to see you all again. Clara then fell silent for a moment. Presumably said Clara, who then fell silent for a moment. I just wish Isabella could have been here. She rose from her chair, inviting others to do the same. As classmates began making their way to the exits, Lumi paused, contemplating about the evening the empty chairs that stood still. Time flies, he whispered. Ethan, who had also decided to stay a little longer, and I don't like that noise in the soundtrack that sounds like a pig screaming. Ethan, who had also decided to stay a little longer, smiled softly at Lumi before neatly putting his chair back in place. Together they headed towards the exit. As they stepped into the cobblestoned street, the city's muted glow seemed to hold them in a gentle embrace. Ethan paused, looking up at the starry sky. Until next time, he murmured, his voice carrying a quiet hope. Lumi's investigative nature kicked in. He looked at his classmates. This was the perfect time for a one-on-one conversation, a chance to gain insights into the town or perhaps to reconnect on a deeper level. Select a classmate to walk to while others go home. This choice will affect future gameplay. Please note that there is... Can't you hear it, Jeffo? Part of the background music soundtrack is like a pig screaming, and every time we get to that part of it's just, oh god. We're on a different track now, though. I was bamboozled, Mama. I thought this would be some sort of point-and-click mystery adventure. It's got mystery in it. Its tag is mystery. Mystery early access. Please note there is no right or wrong answer. It just takes the game in a different, interesting direction later on. I have been bamboozled. The doggo that we don't have to talk too much? Or our chess-playing fox friend? I think I'll go with our chess-playing fox friend. The night was full... Oh, no. Blah, 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 blah. We picked this guy. He finally mustered up the courage. What's the mystery? The mystery is will they or won't they, Salah, perhaps? He finally mustered up the courage to start the conversation. Can we chat for a bit? Adrian nodded, a hint of curiosity in his eyes. He had a similar look on his face before their chess matches back then. Sure, what's on your mind? I've been thinking about the darkness. What do you think about it? The darkness? It's intricate. It's scary, unlike anything I've seen or felt before. Something inexplicable. Yet, there must be a logical, scientific explanation. Lumi looked at Adrian, his eyes filled with anticipation, as if he was about to play a move Adrian didn't expect. But what if there isn't? What if there are forces at play beyond our comprehension? It's an interesting possibility. Adrian raised his eyebrow, intrigued by Lumi's suggestion, albeit an improbable one. Lumi pondered Adrian's response, his eyes glistened at the thrilling challenge. What if there are realms beyond our understanding? What if there are things that science cannot explain? Adrian smiled, appreciating Lumi's sense of wonder. It is a fascinating thought, Lumi. While science strives to explain everything, there may always be room for the unknown. It is what keeps us pushing the boundaries of knowledge. I suppose you're right. There's still so much left to explore. Perhaps a game of chess will help us stumble upon an idea, for old time's sake, suggested Adrian. Sounds like a plan, Lumi responded, a sense of relief washing over him at the prospect. So far, he'd not met anyone who played as brilliantly as Adrian, thus he could kill two birds with one stone. Face off a stronger opponent and dig deeper into the mysterious changes of the town. Until then, with that final polite nod, Adrian walked away, leaving Lumi with an ever-growing curiosity. Lumi, now alone, was slowly making his way to the hotel, oblivious to the late hour, still mesmerized by the quiet ambience of the night. He was pondering on the reunion? Should it be about the reunion? His thoughts reached an abrupt end when the cobblestone path led him to an unexpected sight. An odd alleyway hidden in the shadows and veiled deeply in silence. Lumi had roamed these streets countless times before, and could have sworn that corner had never been there. It seemed like it had appeared out of nowhere, but how is that possible? Fueled by torturous curiosity, the cat had a sense of caution. As a detective should, intuition warned him of potential dangers. Yet the alley seemed to be beckoning him to explore. What do we do next? Do we return to our hotel? Or does curiosity perhaps kill the cat? How can we not explore? We couldn't resist such a perfect opportunity to explore the cryptic phenomena. Stepping out of the quiet street, the alleyway seemed to fall even more silent, breathlessly watching his every step. The air grew colder, tingled with the sense of impending rain, and something ancient, something that was resonating with part of him he couldn't quite remember. Lumi tugged his paws into his pockets. Yeah, it should be his pockets, not the pockets, because also it needs to be the pockets of something. As he ventured deeper into the alley, he felt an otherworldly hum, resonating not in his ears, but his very heart. Now he could see vapor when he exhaled, each breath creating a tiny cloud of air. The path led to a hidden courtyard. He knew this town like a book, yet this was the first time seeing this place. That played tricks on Lumi's mind. He seemed to maneuver between reality and dream. Morning, CK Hawk. The courtyard's heart revealed an abandoned playground. The eerie atmosphere made it hard to imagine anyone spending their carefree childhood days here. At the entrance of this concealed nook, the serpentine figure stood sentinel. Guarding its mysteries, it seemed like it had eyes and was gazing right at Lumi. A fragmented memory teased him. Its laughter echoed in his mind. Perhaps it was a link to a deeper puzzle. The playground beckoned, a pool both familiar and foreign. What do we do next? Yeah, I'll hop on the swing. Why not? What's wrong with the swing? Swing! Lumi gently touched the seat, noticing a slight layer of dust on it. He sat and tightly gripped the handle. The handles of the swing. Not the ropes, the handles of the swing. The metal creaked. Lumi's mind was shrouded in fog. With each sway, it felt like he was being pulled into another dimension. Memories raced through his mind, or perhaps they were just comforting dreams. He couldn't distinguish them anymore. The courtyard seemed to breathe, a life of its own, hidden within the stones, houses and trees. Lumi looked around. A green mist resembling creatures from the other world began to take its form, swirling around. Lumi, caught in its enchanting dance, felt an irresistible magnetic pull towards the unknown. Yet a part of him doubted. Was this a dream? A fleeting figment of his untamed imagination? Or could it be something more tangible, more profound? Touch the green mists, poke them with a stick, run away, just watch. Observe. He stood still, watching as the shapes danced around the courtyard. He felt a sense of anticipation building within. Without any words, they seemed to invite him on a journey, one that might reveal something he hadn't yet known. The courtyard began to fade as the playground transformed. Trees, mist, swings, and inhuman statue shifted and merged, bridging the gap between worlds. And then, without warning, everything went dark. When Lumi opened his eyes, he was greeted by the gentle rays of morning sunlight sleeping through his window. Was it all just a figment of his imagination? No, Salah. Definitionally, a story isn't game. You could argue that this has choose your own adventure components, which then does potentially bring it into the realm of game, as you do have some agency. You interact with it, and your interactions have an outcome. But in the strictest sense, a pure linear story is not a game. Was it all just a figment of his imagination? His heart raced, and the intricate details of the courtyard remained vividly etched in his mind, refusing to fade away. Whether the night was real or not, Lumi felt that the town's secrets were calling to him. How could such a place exist right under his nose? In his own hometown, completely unbeknownst to him. Lumi felt a lingering sense of unease, mixed with curiosity. With his coat on, Lumi stepped out of the hotel. Yeah, that's quite a little pretty graphic. A complete episode or period of play ending in a final result. Sorry? I don't quite get what you're trying to say there, Salah. The irresistible scent of freshly brewed coffee lured him into a cafe up ahead. Its vintage sign and pastry display beckoned like a familiar old tune, getting closer to the place. He was greeted with a comforting embrace of espresso aroma. Boo, coffee. Boo. Approaching the cafe, his gaze shifted. There she was, a solitary figure. His heart sank. That's also the definition of the word game. There's a difference between English word definition and technical definition in the sense of being in a field of something. This brings us back to the difference between a toy and a game. Snakes and Ladders is a toy. It isn't a game. You make no decisions and you have no input. You have no agency over what happens. So it is a toy, it isn't a game. Now, to a large extent, whether things like this are a toy or a game honestly doesn't matter, right? Like, I find interesting and I appreciate demarcating things into different concepts and different little bins, but the important thing isn't whether it counts as a game or not. The important thing is, do you enjoy the experience? Have you had fun? So please don't mistake me being like, it's not technically a game, as being it's not bad, as being it's bad or it's not a worthwhile experience. I do get a little caught up on that because I think that it's an important distinction to make. But the most important thing is, do you enjoy it and do you feel that it has been a worthwhile experience? Approaching the cafe, his gaze shifted. There she was, a solitary figure. His heart sank. She sat at a corner table, seemingly lost in her coffee cup. No, it's okay, Jeffo. It's just I don't want to be like, I don't want to be the person who's like, this isn't technically a game, therefore it's shit. Anyone who enjoys it is stupid. No. I'm not trying to be that person at all, but neither do I want to condone, like, saying a banana is a kind of bridge, right? It's not what it is. A banana is a fruit, not a bridge. And there are definitely digital toys that are not games. Approaching the cafe, his gaze shifted. There she was, a solitary figure. His heart sank. She sat at a corner table, seemingly lost in her coffee cup. Isabella. Her beauty remained undeniable, yet it seemed as though something had muted her aura. Isabella, he said, his voice containing a mix of relief and concern. Her eyes briefly met his. A spark fading away quickly, as if struggling to catch fire. The air grew denser as Lumi sat across from Isabella. We missed you at the class reunion yesterday. Everyone was wondering about you. Putting his coffee down. A strained smile crossed her lips. I bet it was a fun night. Lots of stories, I'm sure. We hoped to meet up with you, Lumi continued. I kind of also... We're in a strange position where we aren't actually the cat, and we keep talking about the cat as a outside observer. A strained smile crossed her lips. I bet it was a fun night. Lots of stories, I'm sure. We'd hoped to meet up with you. Everyone had news to share. Things we've done, milestones they've reached. We only wished you were there to share yours. She stirred her coffee, persistently avoiding eye contact. Milestones. Perhaps another time. Lumi caught the reluctance in her voice, just a shadow of the vibrant energy she once radiated. Is everything all right? You seem distant. I'm fine, she insisted, though her tone was a fragile veil, barely concealing her emotions. I simply didn't want anything to bring a cloud to your sunny gathering. It was like he was talking to a stranger. Aloof and unfamiliar, Lumi recalled the girl who had once stood at the center of every circle, the queen of their class. Her absence at an event she would have once ruled was a silence that spoke volumes. Depends on what's crossing the banana. Sure, a banana can be a bridge for ants, Salah. Is it the town, the darkness everyone's talking about? He cautiously asked, stepping on the uncertain ground. Their gazes locked, and in that fleeting moment, he saw a flicker of alarm betraying her calm facade. You should stay far away from it. It's not what it seems. Isabella, what troubles you? He persisted, noting the urgency in her warning. Just stay away, she uttered, the tension in her gaze lingering a second longer before retreating. This place... Her eyes darted nervously, scanning the once familiar street as if the town itself had transformed into a stranger. It's no longer the same, and maybe neither are we. It wasn't just her words that weighed heavily, but rather her tone, expression, and body language. Everything spoke louder than her mouth. Lumi sensed something deeper beneath the surface, a disquiet about the town, an internal struggle within her, and the daunting reality of life that hadn't lived up to her promises. We should catch up again before we leave. I still have a couple of days here, Lumi suggested, sensing her desire to avoid delving into heavier topics. We'll see, she smiled, her voice softening up. It was nice meeting you, Lumi. As Lumi watched Isabella leave, he couldn't help but ponder on the burden that she carried. She had once been the center of their class universe, the sun around which everything revolved. Now she resembled more of a fading star, distant and enigmatic, yet still pulling him in with a force he couldn't quite comprehend. Now it's time to explore the town alongside Lumi. Gameplay? Gameplay? Now it's time to explore the town alongside Lumi, uncovering its mysteries. Access the map from the bottom menu and select any location to set your course. You can also take a look in Lumi's bag and check out the items that he's carrying. You may need to use these in some locations to progress the game. My point-and-click adventure has finally arrived. Long have we awaited this day. There are those who thought we would be stuck in Animal Dating Simulator forever. The quest log is under construction, fair enough. Town Square, the old pub, Riverside Walk, the Outlook, Residences, train station, Civic District, the hills, the dump, the factory, the slums, the high-rise flats, the solvent plant. So this is where our mouse lives, or where he works at least. The inn, presumably that's where the squirrel... You told me the game was afoot soon? This is presumably where the squirrel works, either that or the pub. It's a flashlight that Lumi always carries in his bag. We can't use it to do anything in this location. Oh wow! It's Renpai. Anyway. It had done a really good job of not quite seeming like necessarily Renpai until then, but that's just a bit too much. The character stats are also under construction. Okay. Well, where can we go? Let's check out Mouse's place. The chemical solvent plant stood in the heart of the town's industrial area. Its sharp, geometric shape dominated the surroundings, and its sleek, white walls reflected light. The building's austere design was accompanied by strategically placed trees, as if mirroring the identity of the structure. Everything had to be done by the book. The trees swayed gently while inside. The constant hum of machinery provided a steady backdrop. Game some assembly required? I mean, it is a demo, Vama. I'm okay with them having some stuff not finished for their demo. The building's austere design... No, we did that. The trees swayed... No, we did that. Within these pristine walls... Where is Edward? Within these pristine walls, Felix found his daily grind, yet for all its gleaming perfection, an intangible tension hung in the air. Lumi could sense it. Something about this place didn't sit right, though pinpointing the cause remained out of reach. Can I use my torch here? Okay, what about the flats? Lumi found himself surrounded by high-rise flats. Looking up the buildings, he thought about Clara, Isabel, and their lives within these walls. It wasn't just the uniformity and sterility of the blocks that weighed on him. It was the hidden shackles of financial constraints. Living here was an affordable solution. As the town's population grew, real estate prices in the city's heart skyrocketed, making the charm of central homes an attainable dream for many. No, it doesn't look like there's like a single line for everything, maybe. The upscale neighborhood was filled with stunning buildings, showcasing architectural elegance, each house adorned with detailed stone carvings, lush balconies overflowing with plants, and grand, arched wooden doors. Somewhere on this street lived Felix and Adrian. Amidst the beautiful setting, Lumi's past lingered. After his father's untimely passing and mounting debts, the family residence had to be sold. Here, he felt the weight of the past more intensely than anywhere else. Dare I guess we've actually reached the effective end of the demo? The Civic District lay quiet under the midday sun. The vibrant facades of historic... I want that to have a curly French C. Of historic buildings, casting stark contrast to the solemnity at Lumi's father's lab. Municipal police guards, identifiable by their blue uniforms, stood guard at its entrance. Since the accident that silenced the lab's once revolutionary hum, no one had been allowed entry without express permission from city authorities. The officers' postures were relaxed yet authoritative. Arms crossed, eyes scanning the area with a sense of dutiful vigilance. A barrier of police tape marked the lab as an off-limits zone. Despite Lumi's repeated efforts to obtain a permit to enter, his requests were invariably met with denial. In the distance, the music school where his mother had once worked could be seen, its presence a silent testament to the family's lingering legacy in town. Okay, and I'm not ultra interested in literally clicking and reading all of these. So, we'll see if any of these actually results in anything new. No. So it feels like this is effectively the end of the demo. Whew. I'd like to see more about how the actual gameplay bits of the game work, rather than the sort of VN-y bits of the game. But it had believable enough dialogue. It had reasonable world descriptions, occasional little grammatic errors, but no, and I kind of like the cute little animals. I didn't mind the art style. I would like to see the gameplay of this. I will reserve further judgment until we actually see the game. You know, once we get this, once there's actually things to do at these places, when I can see how the, like, use your items on things in the world to solve the puzzles works. But there are definitely things I've played and thought, I don't want to see more of this game once they build more. I'm okay with seeing more of this game once they build more. I don't know, like 3 out. I mean, at the moment, I'd say 2 out of 5, because it's still got too much not there. But I could see this being okay to decent once it's done. Alright. Maybe we'll see this more in the future. Till then, hopefully this was some insight into the current... What is it? The city with the white cat? White Cat Town Mystery.